a Rabbinic Anthology selected with an introduction by C.G. Montefiore and H.Loewe. At the end of Herbert Lowe's introduction, I have appended the part with abbreviations. Continuing 798, R. Samuel B. Nutchman said, "It is like a king who had a garden, and he planted it in a row of nut trees, of apple trees, and of pomegranates, and he entrusted the garden to his son. When the son did the will of his father would look and find a beautiful plant somewhere, and would pluck it out by its roots, and would bring it and plant it in the garden. But when the son did not do the will of his father, the father would look for a beautiful plant in the garden and would tear it out. So, when the Israelites do the will of God, he looks for a righteous man among the nations and joins him to Israel. But when they do not do his will, he looks for a righteous man among Israel and takes him away." Canticles are, Song of Solomon 6, section 2 on 6.2, folio 33a, 799, Ecclesiastes R 3, section 18, 1 on 3.18, 12a. "I said in mine heart concerning the estate of the sons of men, that God might prove them, and that they might see that they themselves are cattle." Ecclesiastes 3:18. "Concerning the lot of the righteous in this world, in privations, fasts, and sufferings. Why is this? It is that God might manifest their righteousness, and that they might see that they themselves are cattle," means that the nations of the world may see how the Israelites not only follow after God like sheep, cattle, after their shepherd, as it says, "Ye are the flock of my pasture," Ezekiel 34:31, but even as the sheep stretches out its neck to the slaughter, so do the righteous, as it says, "For thy sake are we killed all the day." Psalm 44, verse 12, Ecclesiastes R 3, 8, section 18, 1 on 3.18, 12a, 800, Ta'an 8a, Malter, page 53. R. Johanan said, "He who conducts himself righteously here below is judged strictly in the heaven above." Ta'an 8a, Malter, page 53. Malter's note in the same location is as follows. "The thought is that the actions of a prominent man are judged more severely than those of the ordinary man. The sufferings of the righteous are to purify them, are to enable them the more assuredly to inherit the life of the world to come." 801, Genesis R 32:3, the page 290, except Tunch B, Shemot 10:3b, and Tunch Wayera, section 20, folio 38a, 792, and 1542. R. Jonathan said, "The Lord," probably God, a suburban noun, "tries the righteous." Psalm 11:5. "The potter does not test cracked vessels. It is not worthwhile to tap them even once, because they would break. But he taps the good ones, because however many times he taps them, they do not break. Even so, God tries not the wicked, but the righteous." Or Joseph B. Chanina said, "The flax dealer, who knows that his flax is good, pounds it, for it becomes more excellent by his pounding. And when he knocks it, it glistens the more. But when he knows that his flax is bad, he does not knock it at all, for it would split. So God tries not the wicked, but the righteous." R. Eleazar said, "A man had 2 cows, one strong and one weak, upon which will he lay the yoke? Surely upon the strong. So God tests the righteous." Genesis R 32, verse 3, the page 290, except Tanch, B, Shemot 10, 3b, and Tanch, Weira, section 20, folio 38a, selection 792 and 1542, 802, Tid, 40b, R. Lazar B. Zadok said, "With what may the righteous in this world be compared? To a tree whose trunk stands entirely in a pure place, but its branches extend over to an unclean place. If those branches are cut off, then all the tree is in a pure place. So God imposes sufferings on the righteous in this world, so that they may inherit the world to come. Similarly, the wicked are like a tree standing in an unclean place, some of whose branches spread over to a clean place. If these are cut down, the entire tree stands in an unclean place. So God gives the wicked abundant good in this world to drive them down into and cause them to inherit the lowest depths of hell." Pid 40b. The life of the righteous is concentrated on God. 803 Genesis R. Leka 41 verse 1, the page 386, and see our selection 251, or just, listen to the programs in order. "The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. He shall grow like the cedar in Lebanon." Psalm 92 verse 12. "As the palm and the cedar have neither crookedness nor excrescences, so the righteous have neither crookedness nor excrescences." Crescences? Is that how you say it? "As the palm and the cedar throw their shade afar, so the reward of the righteous extends far. The palm and the cedar strain upwards, so the heart of the righteous is directed towards God. As the palm and the cedar have a desire, so the righteous have a desire, and their desire is God." Genesis R. Leka 41:1, the page 386, see selection 251. Crescences is probably how to pronounce it. I may here intercalate the following. The Hebrew noun which we translate by righteousness has in rabbinical Hebrew various shades of meaning. Sometimes it truly means righteousness, sometimes it means justice, sometimes charity, sometimes more almsgiving. In the following pa'an on tzedakah, it must have now one meaning and now another, and sometimes it is difficult to say which is the exact meaning intended. 804 Midrash Proverbs 14:34, folio 38b. R. Johanan said, "Come and see how great is the power of righteousness, for it is placed in the right hand of God, as it is said, Thy right hand is full of righteousness." Psalm 48:10. Great is righteousness, for God is praised with it in the hour when he brings salvation to Israel. As it is said, I that speak with righteousness, mighty to save. Isaiah 63:1. Great is righteousness, for it brings honor and life to those who practice it. As it is said, he that follows after righteousness shall find life, righteousness, and honor. Proverbs 21:21. In the day of judgment, but how does he who follows after righteousness find righteousness? Because God will give him money to do charity with it to men worthy of charity, so that he may receive reward. Great is righteousness, for our father Abraham is placed with righteousness, as it is said, and he believed in the Lord, and was accounted to him as righteousness. Genesis 15:6. And as it is said, for I know him, that he may command his children and his household after him, that they may keep the way of the Lord, to do righteousness and justice. Genesis 18:19. Great is righteousness, for David is praised with righteousness, as it is said, and David wrought justice and righteousness to all his people. 2 Samuel 8:15. Great is righteousness, for with it Solomon is praised, as it is said, because the Lord, probably increasing existence, loved Israel, therefore he made the king to do righteousness and justice. 1 Kings 10:9. Great is righteousness, for it reaches the throne of glory, as it is said, righteousness and justice are the foundations of thy throne. Psalm 89:14. Great is righteousness, for with it Israel is praised, as it is said, and it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments. Deuteronomy 6:25. Great is righteousness, for with it God will be praised on the day of judgment, as it is said, and the holy God shall be sanctified in righteousness, and in justice shall he be exalted. Isaiah 5:16. Great is righteousness, for it accompanies him who practices it in the hour of his departure from the world, as it is said, thy righteousness shall go before thee, and the glory of the Lord shall be thy reward. Oh, the glory of the Lord shall be thy reward. Isaiah 58:8, Midrash Proverbs 14:34, folio 38b, and so instead of Lord, we might say established. The rabbis do not ascribe the evil inclination specifically to the flesh. We cannot say that they definitely ascribe righteousness to the soul and sin to the body or to the flesh. On the other hand, the soul is often regarded as in itself pure and sinless. It comes pure from God. The old rabbinic prayer, still recited daily, runs thus: O my God, the soul which thou gavest me is pure. And that's in the feminine, right? The reference to soul. Thou didst create it. Thou didst form it. Thou didst breathe it into me. Thou preservest it within me, and thou wilt take it from me, but wilt restore it unto me hereafter. So long as the soul is within me, I will give thanks unto thee, O Lord, my God, and God of my fathers, sovereign of all works, Lord of all souls. Blessed art thou, O Lord, who restorest souls unto dead bodies. Per book, page 5, we find passages like the following: 805, Leviticus R, Metzorah 18:1, R. Phinehas, and R. Chokia. In the name of R. Simeon said, when does the spirit return to God who gave it? Ecclesiastes 12:7. When the dust returns to the earth as it was, but it is also said, the souls of thine enemies he will sling out. Samuel 25:29. R. Ishmael B. R. Nachman taught in the name of R. Abdimeh of Haifa. It is like a learned and particular priest who gave an ignorant priest a portion of the heave offering and said, I am clean and my house is clean. If you return it to me in the same condition, all is well. If not, I will throw it down before you. So God says to man, behold, I am pure, and my dwelling place is pure, and my ministers are pure, and the soul which I have given you is pure. If you return it to me in the same condition, all is well. But if not, I will tear it in pieces before you. Leviticus R, Metzorah 18:1. I've been stopped with a lot of these videos by calls, and so I'm not sure if I have to, I'm making sure everything in the book is shared, right? Leviticus R, Metzorah 18:1. 806, Sab 152b. The rabbis say, as the spirit was given to thee pure, so return it pure. Sab 152b. The relation of soul and body is discussed in a well-known argument, 807, Leviticus R. Wayikra 4:5. R. Ishmael said that the matter resembled a king who had a garden with fine early figs. He put 2 keepers in it, one was blind and one was lame, and he bade them to look well after the figs. After a time, the lame man said to the blind man, I see some fine figs in the garden. The blind man said, Bring me to them, and we will eat. The lame man said, I cannot walk. The blind man said, I cannot see. Then the lame man got on the shoulders of the blind man, and they went and ate the figs. After a time, the king came to the garden, and he asked, Where are the figs? The blind man said, Can I see? The lame man said, Can I walk? But the king was clever, and he set the lame man on the shoulders of the blind man, and made them walk a little. And he said, Even so have you managed, and you have eaten the figs. So, in the world to come, God says to the soul, Wherefore have you sinned before me? The soul replies, I have not sinned. The body has sinned. Since I have come out of the body, I have flown about like an innocent bird in the air. What is my sin? Then God says to the body, Why have you sinned before me? The body replies, I have not sinned. It is the soul which has sinned. From the hour that the soul went out of me, I lie prone like a stone cast upon the ground. How can I have sinned against thee? What does God do? He brings the soul and casts it into the body and judges the two together. Archia said, It is like a priest who had 2 wives. The one was the daughter of a priest, the other of a layman. He gave them some dough which belonged to the heave offering, and they allowed it to become unclean. He said, Which of you did this? Each accused the other. Then the priest let the daughter of the layman alone, and began to condemn the daughter of the priest. She said, Why do you leave her alone and condemn me? You gave the dough to the 2 of us together. He replied, She is the daughter of a layman, and was not taught about these things in the house of her father. But you are the daughter of a priest, and were taught in the house of your father. Therefore I leave her alone and condemn you. So will it be in the world to come with the body and the soul when they come to judgment. God will let the body alone and condemn the soul. Then the soul will say, We have sinned together. Why dost thou leave the body alone and condemn me? God answers, The body belongs to the lower sphere, to the place where they sin, but you belong to the upper sphere, where they do not sin. Therefore I leave the body alone and condemn you. Leviticus R. Wayikra 4:5. H.L.'s note. This story is one of the comparatively rare indications of the existence of polygamy. It is a story and not a fact, and it must not be pressed. No rabbi is known to have had more than one living wife, but the legal possibility is discussed at length. For the rabbinic aversion to the custom, see J.E. SV Polygamy, 1431 H.L. So they found it easier to commit adultery than to have more than one spouse. They found it easier to approve of it, even. Yeah. In American law, as long as you don't register it as a marriage with both things, you can still have live-in agreements that resemble legally a marriage. The Constitution, technically, you should get rid of legal marriage altogether, right? But still, the Christian side of the Bible is the only one with a restriction on polygamy. Neither one requires consent in biblical marriage. I would disagree with that part, but 808 Tunch B Wayikra 4A finish 4B More 1 488. It says in Leviticus 4:2, If the soul sins in ignorance, but the soul comes from a place where there is no iniquity or sin, so the scripture marvels that a soul can sin in ignorance. 2 men sinned against the king, one a villager and one a man brought up in the palace. The king let the villager go and pronounced sentence on the other. His courtiers said to him, Both committed a similar sin, yet you let one go and sentenced the other. He replied, I let the villager go because he did not know the laws of the kingdom, but the courtier was continually with me and knew what the laws of the kingdom are, and what judgment is pronounced against the one who offends against me. So the body is a villager. God fashioned man from the dust of the ground, but the soul is a courtier from above. He breathed into his nostrils a soul of life, and they both sin. For there is, on earth, no soul without body, and no body without soul. The soul that sins, it shall die. Ezekiel 18:20, Tunch B, Wayekra 4a, finish 4b, more 1, 488. 809, Sifra Deuteronomy, Ha'azanu, section 306, folio 132a. R. Samai says that in regard to all the creatures who were created from the heavens, their bodies and souls are heavenly. As to all the creatures that were created from the earth, their bodies and souls are earthly. Man is the exception, for his body is earthly, but his soul is heavenly. Therefore, if man fulfills the law and does the will of his Father in heaven, then he is like the creatures above. But if not, then he's like the creatures below. Sefer Deuteronomy Ha'azanu, section 306, folio 132a. Interesting too are the following: 810, Ecclesiastes R 6:6, in some editions 7, 1 on 17a. All the labor of man, gender neutrals, remember that, is for his mouth. Yet the soul, a.v. appetite, is not filled, i.e. satisfied. Ecclesiastes 6:7. Archanina v. Isaac said, the soul is not filled, for the soul knows all that its travail is for itself. Therefore it is insatiable for Torah and good works. It is like a villager who married the daughter of a king. Whatever he brings her, she regards as nothing, for she is a king's daughter. So with the soul, if all the delights of this world are brought to her, they are to her as nothing, for she belongs to the world above. Ecclesiastes R 6:6. Some editions, section 7, 1 on 6:7, 17a, 811, Leviticus R, Behar 34:3, Seer selection 1271. Once when Hillel left his disciples, they said to him, whither are you going? He replied, to do a kindness to a guest in the house. They said, have you every day a guest? He said, yes. Is not the soul a guest in the body? Today it is here, tomorrow it is gone. Leviticus R, Behar 34:3, selection 1271. Metanot Kahuna says, the soul which is oppressed by the conduct of the body, see Levy's rendering of Aluv.